becomes available, much less 1 week after the season ended. That's exactly what's taken place here now with Doug Pederson, who would certainly be among the people who would certainly have teams interested in him, the New York Jets being among them.
Yeah, and of course that makes a lot of sense. They have general manager Joe Douglas there, spent some time in Philadelphia with Doug Pederson, won a Super Bowl together. Obviously, some dot connecting here, but that would be something that would make sense. Hard to imagine a Super Bowl winning head coach out just 3 years later, but that is the situation in Philadelphia. And, you know, really, it was about more than just on-field performance, although on-field performance did have some things to do with it. This was about staff changes in the way they were going to move forward into the future as well. I know when it came down to potential staff moves, Doug Pederson was talking about having Press Taylor, the quarterback's coach, going offensive coordinator there, had discussed moving an internal promotion, Matt Burke potentially, as defensive coordinator. It did not sound like that was going to be enough for Jeffrey Lurie, and those two met for several hours today in South Florida. Now, as Tom tells us, Doug Pederson out as Eagles coach. There's now a new opening in the NFL.
Okay, which now is 7. So 7 coaching openings in the National Football League. If you're just joining us, Andrew Siciliano, Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero. This is NFL Now. Tom with the news moments ago. He broke it. That is just rocking the NFL world. And that is Doug Pederson is out. Doug Pederson has been fired. We know that there was a meeting a couple of days ago with the owner, Jeffrey Lurie. And then they met again today. And obviously, Tom, as you're reporting, it did not go well. Where, and it's very early. We don't know all the details. Where is the disconnect? Is it staff changes? Is it just, hey, we have seen enough? Is it Carson Wentz's development? Or is it probably all of these things?
Let's start here, Andrew. 3 years after winning the Super Bowl, which of course they did with their backup quarterback, Nick Foles, you have a variety of different questions about how Philadelphia gets back to a championship level. At the quarterback position, Carson Wentz has regressed from his what was really MVP form until he injured his knee back in 2017. He's had a couple of other injuries, a concussion, he's had a back injury, other things. This year he was healthy, he simply wasn't effective, and so they turned to Jalen Hurts in the late stages of the season trying to save their season. It did not work, but certainly Hurts showed flashes that he potentially could be a starting quarterback for them moving forward into the future here. You have money tied up in Carson Wentz. You have cap tied up in Carson Wentz. What do you do there? Do you trade Wentz? Do you go to Hurts? It's not realistic, just cap-wise, to have Wentz on the team as a backup. So you have to answer that question. Your defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, decided that he's going to take 2021 off. He let his contract expire. Offensively, you had questions about the staff there. Marty Mornhinweg not returning. Pederson wanted to promote Press Taylor to the offensive coordinator. It did not seem as if that gained a great deal of momentum. These are huge questions for the Eagles to be able to sort through, to say nothing of the fact that they've got some money invested in older players, that they've got some salary cap questions they have to answer in a year where the cap is going to go down. This is not solely a Doug Pederson issue, just like it's not a Howie Roseman issue, just like it's not a Carson Wentz issue. But when you're trying to fix a global problem, you need to have everybody sharing the vision and on the same page. Obviously, Jeffrey Lurie did not feel as if Doug Pederson was going to be able to get there with Lurie, with Roseman, with the other people, with voices in the process. That's why it ends here. Doug Pederson out, fired as the Eagles head coach.
Yeah, and
the
let me just
winning head coach in Super Bowl. Go ahead, Ian. Yeah.
Andrew, let me just jump in. I know we talk about Carson Wentz, the development and on-field play. Hard to imagine Carson Wentz wanting to return if Doug Pederson was the head coach. I know that relationship was not great. I know there were certainly some doubts from Carson Wentz's standpoint about how good he would be, his progress if Doug Pederson was the head coach. Pederson obviously has gotten a lot of credit for the work he has done at quarterback. Didn't sound like Carson Wentz was into it at all. So this does potentially open the door for Carson Wentz staying in Philly now that Doug Pederson is out.
Now, we still don't know if that's going to happen, certainly, but, you know, using that logic, you're picking quarterback over coach. This is still very new. Tom Pelissero reporting, if you're just joining us, Doug Pederson is out after 5 years as head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're getting ready for Super Bowl 55. Doug Pederson won Super Bowl 52. He is the first coach fired within 3 years of winning a Super Bowl since 1972. 3. Trying to make sense of this, and let's get more voices into the show now. Ian, Tom, stay there. Go back, work the phones if you can. Let's get Brian Billick onto the screen here. Our Super Bowl winning head coach, obviously won it with the Baltimore Ravens. Coach, Doug Pederson's out. What do you think?
Yeah, this one's a shocker because Philadelphia, Mr. Lurie, Harry Roseman have been very loyal, very involved. It goes back to the Andy Reid and the special relationship they had. Doug Pederson, an extension of that. They tried the Chip Kelly thing, got burnt by it, came back within the fold with Doug Pederson. So he's very much part of that family, so to speak. And so this one's a shock. Clearly, and you guys have just been laid out there, this had to come down to, okay, not having that shared vision going forward. It begins with if management and the general manager, the owner, want to dictate to you what your staff's going to be, you're heading down a path where this separation was going to happen at some point anyway. He may very well have decided, no, I'm going to stick, or here's my plan, here's what I want to do. All the things about Carson Wentz, whether there is a good relationship, not there, clearly that had to be the biggest focus, and there apparently is a miscommunication, or I should say